How could humanity, in its quest for advancement and civilization, have perpetrated such a horrific event as the Holocaust? It's a question that weighs heavy on our collective conscience. The Holocaust, a grotesque display of hatred and intolerance, has forever altered our understanding of human nature. Our aim today is to unravel the tangled threads of the events that led to this atrocity, to glean what lessons we can from the ashes of the past. Walk with me as we journey back to the early 1930s, to the roots of one of history's darkest chapters. It began with one man, Adolf Hitler, and his rise to power in 1933. In the early years of the 1930s, Germany was a nation in turmoil. The Treaty of Versailles had left the country economically crippled and politically unstable. Amidst this chaos, a man named Adolf Hitler, a charismatic speaker with radical ideas, began to gain prominence. Hitler and his party, the National Socialist German Workers' Party, or more commonly known as the Nazi Party, capitalized on the discontent of the German people. Hitler promised a return to national pride, economic prosperity, and most significantly, he provided a scapegoat for Germany's problems, the Jews. Hitler propagated the belief that Jews were the root cause of Germany's issues, a belief that would later fuel the flames of the Holocaust. Anti-Semitism, a prejudice against Jews, was not a new concept in Europe, but under Hitler's rule, it was intensified and institutionalized. In 1935, 2 years after Hitler came into power, the Nuremberg laws were enacted. These laws stripped German Jews of their rights and freedoms. They were no longer citizens, they could not marry non-Jews, and they were barred from many professions. The Nuremberg laws marked the beginning of a systematic effort to marginalize and isolate Jews from German society. The impact of these laws was profound and devastating. Jews were increasingly ostracized and persecuted. They lived in constant fear of further laws and decrees that might further limit their lives. The Nuremberg laws were just the start of a series of escalating actions against Jews, actions that would eventually lead to the unspeakable atrocities of the Holocaust. As we delve into this dark chapter of history, it's important to remember that it all started with one man, his rise to power, and the climate of fear and prejudice he nurtured. The Nuremberg laws were the first concrete steps towards the systematic extermination of the Jews. With the stage set, the stage was set for a tragedy that would shake the world. The night of November 9th, 1938, marked a significant escalation in the persecution of Jews. On this night, known as Kristallnacht, or the Night of Broken Glass, a wave of violent anti-Jewish pogroms swept through Germany, Austria, and the Sudetenland region of Czechoslovakia. In the darkness, the ominous echoes of breaking glass filled the air as synagogues, Jewish homes, schools, and businesses were ransacked, looted, and set ablaze. The streets were littered with shards of shattered glass from the windows of Jewish-owned stores, hence the name the Night of Broken Glass. But it wasn't just glass that was broken that night. Lives were shattered too. Over 90 Jews were murdered, and some 30,000 were arrested and sent to concentration camps. This wasn't a spontaneous outburst of violence, but a state-sanctioned orchestrated attack. Kristallnacht marked a turning point in the history of the Third Reich, signaling the shift from economic and social persecution of Jews to physical violence. It was the prelude to the Holocaust, a clear signal of the horrors that lay ahead. The world's reaction to Kristallnacht was one of shock and condemnation. Newspapers across the globe carried headlines of the atrocities. Yet, despite the international outrage, there was little concrete action taken to aid the Jews of Germany. In the wake of Kristallnacht, there was a significant increase in Jewish emigration. Jews sought refuge in other countries, desperate to escape the escalating violence, yet many found the doors of potential safe havens firmly shut, their pleas for help falling on deaf ears. Kristallnacht, a night of terror and destruction, was a chilling forewarning of the systematic genocide that was to follow. It serves as a stark reminder of the depths to which humanity can sink when hatred is allowed to flourish unchecked. But the worst was yet to come. In 1941, the Nazis implemented their final solution to the Jewish problem. This was a chilling euphemism for the systematic state-sponsored murder of 6 million Jews during the Holocaust. The final solution was not a spontaneous decision, but rather a calculated, methodical plan for genocide. The Nazis, under Adolf Hitler's leadership, built concentration camps and extermination camps across Europe, from Auschwitz in Poland to Bergen-Belsen in Germany. These were not mere prisons, but factories of death, where human beings were reduced to numbers to be exterminated en masse. In these camps, people were stripped of their identities, their dignity, and finally, their lives. The inmates were used for forced labor under inhumane conditions. They were starved, brutally beaten, and subjected to horrific medical experiments. But the darkest corner of these camps were the gas chambers. Here, people were tricked into believing they were being led to shower rooms, but instead they were exposed to lethal Zyklon B gas. It was an industrialized killing, a chilling testament to the depths of human cruelty. The scale of the atrocities committed in these camps is hard to comprehend. Men, women and children, entire families and communities were wiped out. The Nazis kept meticulous records, their cold bureaucracy belying the enormity of the crime. By the end of World War II, 2 out of every 3 European Jews were murdered in the Holocaust. The final solution was a dark chapter in human history, a chilling reminder of what can happen when hatred and bigotry are allowed to flourish unchecked. It was a crime against humanity, a violation of our most fundamental values. And yet, despite the unimaginable horrors, there were stories of resilience and survival. People clung to hope, to love, to their very humanity amidst the darkness. These stories serve as a testament to the indomitable spirit of the human will. The scale of the horror was unimaginable, but it was all too real. The Holocaust finally ended in 1945, but its impact is still felt today. In the aftermath of this devastating event, the world was left to grapple with the enormity of the crimes committed and the sheer scale of human suffering. The Nuremberg trials, convened in the wake of World War II, marked a pivotal moment in international law. For the first time in history, individuals were held accountable on a global stage for crimes against humanity. These trials set a precedent, establishing that those who commit horrific acts cannot hide behind the veil of their nation's sovereignty. Simultaneously, the creation of Israel offered a haven for Jewish survivors, a place where they could rebuild their lives in safety. The establishment of this state, however, was not without conflict, and the repercussions of these tumultuous beginnings continue to echo in the geopolitical landscape today. Yet beyond these immediate outcomes, the Holocaust serves as a stark lesson for humanity. It stands as a brutal reminder of the depths to which society can sink when hate and discrimination are allowed to flourish unchecked. It demonstrates the devastating consequences of turning a blind eye to injustice and inhumanity. From this darkest chapter of our history, we've learned that silence in the face of oppression is complicity. We've learned that it is not enough to be non-discriminatory. We must be actively anti-discriminatory. We've learned that every individual has a role to play in standing up against hate, in championing the cause of justice, and in safeguarding the dignity of every human being. The Holocaust was not an aberration, a one-time lapse in humanity. It was the result of a gradual erosion of empathy, of respect for human life, fueled by prejudice and propaganda. This is a lesson we must carry forward, a constant reminder that we must be vigilant against the forces of hate and division. We must remember the Holocaust, not just as a dark chapter in history, but as a reminder of the capacity for evil that lies within us all. The Holocaust has left an indelible mark on humanity. A chilling echo from our not-so-distant past, it stands as a stark testament to the depths of human cruelty, but also to the resilience of the human spirit. Let's briefly revisit the key points discussed: the rise of Hitler and the spread of anti-Semitism. A reminder of how dangerous it is to let hate and fear guide our actions. Kristallnacht, the night of broken glass, where the horrors of the Holocaust began in earnest. A chilling example of how quickly society can descend into chaos and violence. The final solution, the systematic state-sponsored extermination of 6 million Jews, a horrifying testament to the potential for evil that exists when power is unchecked and morality is abandoned. And the aftermath, the world left to grapple with the enormity of what had occurred. A lesson in the necessity of accountability, justice, and healing. From these dark chapters of our history, we've learned invaluable lessons. We've learned the importance of vigilance against hate, of standing up against prejudice and discrimination, and of the power of education and remembrance in preventing such atrocities from happening again. The Holocaust serves as a stark reminder of the depths to which humanity can sink, but also of the heights of courage and compassion to which it can rise. As we move forward, let us never forget. Let us always learn. Let us always strive for better.